If you've been somehow living under a rock for a decade, then you should know about the rise of the simulator genre. You know, the clicky dopamine generators typically filled with casinos for children. You're telling me my kid just spent grandpa's entire inheritance on OBJ files of square animals. Woohoo! Yeah! That's my son. I always knew he was a real gambler. These absolute husks of games are filled to the brim with shallow game mechanics trying to disguise their predatory monetization. I remember back in the day, the first simulator game I played was good old weightlifting simulator. Was it good? No, I actually hated it. But I remember playing it with my friend while having something on the second window. I just gotta get my dopamine receptors fried at an early age. The success of early simulators led to other developers thinking, Jesus Christ, there's nothing stopping us from making literal slop and slapping tons of microtransactions on it to make a bunch of dough!
You can't keep getting away with it!
To them, it was basically discovering the infinite money glitch on Roblox. A simulator is pretty basic in essence. I don't even think it'd take that much coding to make a simulator. I could even make a simulator if I wanted to. Probably not gonna, considering it'd be kind of a bad look for me after I make an entire video trashing on simulators. My point is that the effort to profit ratio for simulators is absolutely insane. I'd say that the only games with a better effort to profit ratio are the RNG games, but Souls RNG almost has a monopoly on the genre, considering the fact that RNG games aren't games! It's literally just clicking the button to roll the slot machine. There's basically no way to innovate on it without diving into a completely different genre entirely. Therefore, every RNG game is quite literally the same game with a new coat of paint. Even simulators have different gimmicks here or there. The only other RNG to come close to the throne of Souls Pets is Pets Go, but that's only because of the fact that it's part of the Pet Simulator IP. The name recognition of Preston's stupid game is the only thing stopping this from being forgotten like literally every other RNG game. Ah! I hate Preston! Okay, tangent aside, I think it would be helpful to do a case study on some of the more popular simulators on the platform to see why they want to make me rip my balls off. Before we start, it's time for a self-plug. You know, like, sub, and tell me which simulator grinds your gears the most. I'd say mine, but I don't want to spoil the rest of the video. Also, I dusted off my old Blue Sky account I made when the thing first came out. Follow my Blue Sky because Twitter sucks. First up on the shopping block is the star child of simulators on Roblox, Pet Simulator. We're going with Pet Sim 99 because they are literally all the same game. The only reason why they make sequels is so that they can start the cycle of draining your wallets all over again. I'd say that we've now reached the point in gaming where live service games now get pointless sequels that are literally the same, but sports games have been doing that forever. Pet Simulator is the gold standard for simulators, and when I say gold standard, I mean that's what's gonna be lining your pockets when you rake at that sweet child gambling dough. For those of you fortunate enough to be above the age of 6, Pet Simulator is a game where you go around collecting coins with your pets. That's it! That's the game! I'm not exaggerating for a comedic effect like how you say in, oh, Monster Hunter, you hunt monsters. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little. The real purpose of this gameplay loop is so that you can gamble for your pets. Each area has you unlock new eggs for you to gamble with, for the rarest one obviously being the best one. This game feels like it's trying to constantly keep your attention. It's like this was manufactured in a lab to mathematically... Oh my god. It's like this was manufactured in a lab to mathematically produce the most dopamine from a 5-year-old's rotting brain while they scroll YouTube shorts with their mom's phone on the side. There's always some flashing effect on the screen with numbers everywhere, and admittedly satisfying sound design. There's always some item to consume that buffs you with a lot of them stacking, so you better drink. First, we got gambling addictions for kids. Now, we have drinking addictions for kids. These children are about to be set for a midlife crisis by the time they hit puberty. There's just so much stuff to click and consume that it becomes sensory overload, but yet, at the same time, it feels like this game has zero substance to interact with. I feel a whopping nothing while playing this game. This is a common thing with most simulators. The game never asks you to really engage with the mechanics you interact with. This game is as wide as an ocean, yet it's as deep as a puddle. That idea of one-dimensional gameplay is what makes the formula so easy to replicate. Collect things, get stronger so you can collect things faster until you can rebirth and collect things at an exponentially faster rate. Preston's little cash cow has had its fair bit of drama with stuff like NFTs and mystery loot percentages. One of Preston's little stunts that really grinds my gears was the whole #RaiseDevX ad campaign on Roblox a while back. I 100% agree that devs should be given a better rate, but it's like that feeling when you agree with someone but you really don't like them to the point that you low-key want to disagree. I could also talk about the whole debacle of him thinking that he owns the idea of cubic pets. Yeah, that's right. He was attacking developers who dared make their animals in the shape of a 6-faced polygon. Someone better tell him that it's actually impossible to own shapes, especially ones you didn't create. Yeah, the funniest thing about this was that he wasn't even the first person to use cube pets in his game. Still, even separating the art from the artist, I say with the heaviest of air quotes, this game is still absolute dog water. At the end of the day, Pet Simulator is just a child casino with cute little animals instead of generational wealth to be won. You can consider this the gateway drug for big boy gacha games like Genshin or ZZZ. And that disheartens me. I ain't letting my kid grow up to be a gacha gooner! This game gets a half-eaten cubic chihuahua out of 10. This second simulator is one that I may have invested more time than I should have. And no, I didn't intentionally base my design on Wave the Swallow, Isabella. The one and only Sonic Speed Simulator. If you don't know, this game is the official Sonic Roblox game, licensed by Sega and developed by GameFam. This is part of the Speed Simulator subgenre. Duh. The basic gameplay loop is that you collect Chaos Orbs to level up, and when you level up, you get faster. By rebirthing, you get skill points to upgrade your character. This game is pretty simple. The thing that makes it stand apart from the rest, other than officially using the Sonic IP, is that this also emulates Sonic's gameplay. You go faster when you move down slopes, you're able to run up these giant loops, you can destroy enemies with homing attacks, you can even grind on rails. I remember back when Sonic Frontiers was first being showcased by IGN, and everyone thought it sucked. They were saying this simulator looked good in comparison, and to be fair, the IGN guy wasn't doing the game justice. Looking back, Speed Sim is basically a watered down version of Frontiers. You run around in open space, collecting things to progress with separate platforming challenges that you do throughout the world where you're ranked for how fast you can complete them. This game is honestly the cream of the crop when it comes to speed simulators. I mean, the bar wasn't that high to begin with, nor does it clear it that much. But the production quality of the sim is actually pretty decent for simulator standards. You got fully animated and faithfully designed models. For all the Sonic fans out there, we even have representation for characters you wouldn't expect, like from the IDW comics. Sonic Team! Had my wife search for the next Sonic game, and my life is yours! We also got the Chow in this game instead of cubic pets. I swear to God, if they put the Wisps as the pet stand-in, I would have been devastated. This is the most attention Sega gave these little guys in the past 20 years. Sonic Team! Add a Chow Garden for me to raise my son in the next Sonic game, and my life is yours! Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I only played this game because it has Sonic's face attached to it. If this kind of speed-based platforming gameplay tickles your fancy, but you don't want it to be tied to a simulator gambling machine, I'd recommend Pyrite Adventure 2 or Despicable Forces. In fact, the speed sections in most of the older shovelware studio games were pretty fire. It's a shame that they were taken down. While not exactly Sonic gameplay, I'd also recommend Superstar Racers if you still like games where you platform with high speed and momentum. Actually, let me know and I'll cover Sonic games on Roblox for a future video. Now, I don't think this game is all sunshine and rainbows. I said earlier that this game was developed by GameFam, and GameFam is probably one of the most disliked developers on the entire platform. I'd say even worse than Big Games. Okay, side note, doesn't BIG stand for build into games? So wouldn't that make Big Games build into games? I'm getting distracted. What I'm trying to say is that GameFam doesn't pay their devs well, like at all. Yet they have the nerve to monetize their games to the moon and back. Like bro, you got some developers on the team making the same as me, a fast food worker. And I heard the crunch is insane. Yeah, you heard me. We got developers crunching on freaking Roblox.
Life. There's Roblox.
But it's just a couple of silly Roblox games. It doesn't matter. It does matter when the developer's a big corporation making bank off the IPs it develops for. Anyways, I give this game a Rouge the Bats OnlyFans out of 10. Now the last simulator I'm going to talk about was one that was actually requested from a previous video. Here we have Bee Swarm Simulator. To the guy in my comments section that suggested this,
Counter days. Making me play this, you knew that they'd soon become numbered.
I consider this the black sheep of the big simulator games on Roblox. Its gameplay is pretty simplistic, but it's marginally deeper than something like Pet Simulator. You're a beekeeper tasked with making honey using your legion of bees. So your job is to go out to the different flower fields collecting pollen. Wait. We're making honey using pollen and not nectar? Surely I'm not the only one who realizes this. Bees are pollinators, but pollen is for flowers, not honey. Not to be pedantic, because I know some of you will be all like,
"But human, you're playing a game with giant bees and talking bears!"
I don't want to do this right now. This is stupid. You are stupid, hypothetical commenters. I don't like the idea of using what is essentially plant splooge to make the honey I eat.
I'm jaking it.
I'm getting off topic. While you go on your honey making adventure, building your bee empire, you can accept quests from NPCs that you can complete for rewards. They consist of things such as gathering pollen from certain fields, gathering pollen from certain flowers, and all the like. During your playthrough, you can also gather a bunch of items that you can feed your bees to improve them or change them entirely. Now, I do say that this game has a bit more to offer in terms of gameplay engagement to Pet Sim or Sonic Speed Sim, and the fact that you can feed your bees helps them to feel more like companions compared to Pet Sim. It's crazy. Pet Simulator is about pets, yet they feel less like your friends and more like just disposable slaves!
Like George Orwell's book, 1984.
Every pet basically gets outclassed as soon as you hit the next zone, because this game has zero depth to its mechanics. And the only way for this game to feel like it's progressing is to make the numbers shoot up. You don't have a favorite pet in Pet Sim because you keep them for a whopping 5 minutes before getting new ones, while the old ones become completely obsolete. With Bee Sim, being able to upgrade your bees, at least from the bits I've played, give you a little bit of a deeper connection to your ones and zeros. However, ultimately there's a pretty glaring issue that I just can't ignore. Bee Swarm Simulator is ultimately the opposite of Pet Simulator, because where Pet Simulator is a game where the goal is to overload you with so much dopamine to the point where I'm not even sure the average 4-year-old would know what half the stuff that shows up on the screen even does. Bee Swarm Simulator is a bit more deliberate with its progression. Compared to Pet Sim, Bee Sim takes its time to give you stuff. The amount of eggs I've opened in Bee Sim pales in comparison to the amount of eggs I've opened in Pet Sim with its loot box-esque nature. In this platform full of games with the most obnoxious pushing of dopamine and microtransactions, I can truly appreciate that. But that doesn't stop this game from being dog water! Yeah, I'm sorry, this game is so freaking slow. I was legitimately putting myself to sleep just by playing. When I finally finished recording, I was so glad that I never had to touch this game ever again. Literally nothing happened during the whole time I was playing. I'm actually shocked how this has so much of a player base. Look, I know this is supposed to be more of a cozy game, but you still, progress in those games.
But human, you get better bees and stuff!
It's all the same gameplay, whether you're at the start of the game or whether you're 500 hours of the game. This all feels pointless with no goal in sight. In the end, it wasn't until I played Bee Swarm Simulator that I realized why simulators feel so hollow. It's not just because of the gambling like I first thought. These games have a short yet static gameplay loop. When I think about it, simulators share a lot in common with RPGs and stuff because you get stronger through numbers over the course of the game. While RPGs, at least the good ones, ask you to engage with the game's mechanics by introducing complexity with how they interact with each other and by introducing challenges that can't be overcome through sheer numerical strength, simulators have you perform 1 or 2 tasks over and over, with the only thing changing being a solitary number, determining how much absolute strength you have to conquer what the game has to throw at you, with a lot of these not even having a fail state. The only challenge to the player is their patience as they grind to get bigger numbers with no end goal in sight. That is the reason why simulators feel so hollow. Anyways, I give Bee Sim a bug shaker out of 10.
People have mined 16 trillion.
Trillion?
Yes.
You've been slacking.
Yeah.
I have been, though. Why are all the leaderboard players like black people, though? I mean, black.
What?